we didn't know who he was and where he was coming from, and somebody put this anthology in front of us, and we started reading about faith and religion and belief and Maimonides and the Bible and Agata, how would we peg this? Like we would say, this is the work of a believer, someone who's knows something but got some things wrong. How would you peg it?
It's so great. It's a really good question. And that's what I do with my students. We read passages and I say, what do you see here? What do you notice? What's strange? What's out of place? It's, you clearly see a person who's a deep, deep belief in God, a deep belief in Hashgacha, in his day-to-day lives. I see the text as his autobiography in particular as him taking his family's experiences and almost making it a biblical story. He uses his Hebrew name, his Jewish name of Joseph. So you hear these passages and they echo passages about right Yosef Atzadik in the Chumash. The way all these different, that he found favor in the eyes, right? Things like that things were done for him that weren't done for anybody else. That he rose from the prison to, not to the palace, but to better places, that he was a dreamer and he was an interpreter of dreams and these things. So you get this, but it's very sui generis, very eclectic. He has all sorts of terms that sound very Catholic. He uses the term santo, saint, so Saint Moses, Saint Esther, things like that. When he talks about Brit Milah, he talks about the sacrament. It's very, very Catholic, not very Jewish. Right? It's an ot. It's not right. It's not exactly. So he absorbs from his surroundings, but he's also very, very vigilant and passionate about rejecting the basic features of Catholicism. Right. So any aspects of idolatry, and also the idea that you don't need the mitzvot, that you just need faith. He's very much about no, you actually have to do what it says in the Bible. You need to follow those mitzvot. If you don't, you're not going to be saved. But he then uses that term, saved. It's a very Catholic way of thinking of things. So I see this as, I personally would argue, and I do argue, and that's how I see it. This is part of the early modern Jewish world. It's one very important aspect that has all these interconnections with people living in normative communities. But it's creative and it's its own thing.